Hello there, I'm Ronin Beatmaker, and welcome to Lounge Ronin, all things, everything. If you're new to the channel, please make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. And on this episode, we're going to discuss Grummz versus gamers and pop culture, how one grifter exposes them all. Now, on this episode, we're going to be discussing the consequences of using your platform to give an audience to a con man. So we're going to be covering McDrizzle, who's been doing extensive investigation into Grummz, aka Mark Kern. So without further ado, let's get into evidence. Hello there, I'm Ronin Beatmaker, and welcome to Ronin Art and Music, home to Ronin Music, Lounge Ronin, all things, everything, the Monday Mindset, Rants, and Ronin Reviews. We strive to make holistic and authentic content that aims to improve your individuality, mental fortitude, and peace of mind. If you're new to the channel, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Stay positive, stay focused, stay true, and much love. Now, back to the show. And what I mean by platform, I'm looking at you, the FNT crew, Neurotic, Geeks and Gamers, Midnight's Edge. The consequences of platforming a con man on your channels. Let's see what happens.
History. And the cool thing for us is that it's happening in real time, so we don't just need to talk about it past tense, although there is a huge substantiated history of this scam over the last 8 years. I made a video with a financial deep dive into Ember. Although it didn't get much traction on YouTube, it did get a lot of traction on Twitter. So much that even people that support Mark / Grummz started questioning him about it to the point that he needed to respond. Has Mark Kern been crowdfunding massive amounts of money for over 8 years to develop a demo like he's told everyone? Or has he been using that money to write a novel or make a tabletop game? Or did he take 2 years off and still continue to crowdfund upwards of $250,000 for not developing the game? I'm sorry, not a game, but just a demo, in order to set up a Kickstarter and start his own company. Which is funny because he's not even the CEO of his own company that's doing Ember. It's some 78-year-old man with the same last name as Mark. That is likely because Mark has a tax lien against him from the state of California for over $265,000. This is attached to all past, present, and future property. A lien is basically the right to a property to take care of debts. It gets worse. The 78-year-old man who has the same last name of Mark, likely his father, who as of August 2023 has tax liens against any past, present, future properties, bank accounts, and funds. This is the CEO of Crixa Labs who owns Ember. So it sounds like the company's already in trouble, and his response makes things a lot worse for him.
Now, I'm no expert, but I'm pretty sure that's fraud. Now, it would not be a good look for channels in the woke right pop culture community, such as Neurotic and FNT and Geeks and Gamers and all those cats. It probably wouldn't be a good idea for them to platform someone who's committing fraud and using his father. But I don't know. I'm just your humble Ronin. Let's continue.
Forum. In today's video, we'll take a look at those allegations I placed on Grummz, as well as analyze his response. At the conclusion of this video, you should have a very good understanding of Mark Kern's web of deceit, lies, and greed. Now, people have mentioned that I might be biased because I don't like Mark Kern. To that I say I don't have to like someone to investigate them. And I invite you to disprove what I'm saying. It's a big old scam regardless of your political
I want to give him a shout out for that. I appreciate him saying I don't have to like someone to investigate them. And that's something that's lacking right now in the journalistic community throughout the world, especially in Western societies.
Political ideologies. Now, we have to use a lot of estimates in the financials based on information from forums or from Mark's own mouth. Mark has said very little about the amount raised, so we'll use what we have. Because contrary to what Mark says, this is one of the least transparent game crowdfunding ventures of all time. But we'll talk about this and we'll prove it. So the first part of this video is the allegations, and the second part is Mark's response and my analysis of it. You may have seen most of the first section in a prior video. You can just skip ahead if you had, but if you haven't, I really recommend you check it out. We're going to have another one later next week that's going to dive even deeper. Enjoy, and I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments. One of the biggest misconceptions is that Mark Kern / Grummz is trying to develop a game. He's not. He's trying to develop a mock-up of a game that he already made, and it's taken 8 years and hundreds of thousands of dollars. His end goal is to do a Kickstarter to start a larger company. When it's all said and done, this is likely going to be a bigger scam than the day before. The difference being, the day before just took their money from some investors. They didn't.
And I'm pretty sure everything that Grummz is doing, aka Marky Mark, there have been movies about it. I'm pretty sure Hollywood has done movies about this exact type of fraud. And we got people out here platforming this guy and celebrating him? Okay. 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 Be careful who your heroes are.
Didn't take it from any common people until they sold the game, of course. And at least anyone that bought the day before could get a refund on Steam. Grummz, on the other hand, took all the money from the people, setting the expectation that this mock-up will be done sometime in early 2019. He had all the funding that was needed to meet that goal, right? Actually, he had way more than enough, and we're going to talk about that. In today's video, we're going to talk about why the catastrophic crowdfunded project known as Ember is a huge scam. After you check out this video, I'd love to know your thoughts. Let's first talk about the amount of money and time it's taken to try to develop this vertical slice mock-up. Somewhere between $300,000 and at least $500,000 of crowdfunding and a lot of lost hope over an 8+ year period. Not even for a game, but for a vertical slice demo. For a spiritual successor of a game that he already made. Misleading people and overall being a menace has brought us to where we are at today. I don't think it's really been laid out in this chronological order before in a way that makes a whole lot of sense, so I hope you enjoy it. Crowdfunding is fine, but you gotta be honest and you gotta deliver. And he did neither. Let's talk about Grummz. A dose of Buckley said it best is that it's like a combination of grime and scum. Kind of like the stuff you might find in your oven if you don't clean it enough. He is best known for being fired from his own company and spending over $3 million in a bus that didn't do anything. The development of this game.
You getting fired from your own company and buying a $3 million bus that didn't do anything? And they want to platform this man? They want to celebrate him in the gaming community as a man who's going to take on the woke left of the gaming industry? Okay. Remember what I said about be careful who your heroes are. Let's continue.
Game that's totally not a scam started with a change.org petition back in June of 2016. He had a successful petition in order to make a spiritual successor to Firefall. Between June of 2016 and July of 2017, Mark crowdfunded over $130,000. This greatly exceeded his goals to develop a demo so he could do a full Kickstarter for the game. Let's take a look at his 3 rounds of crowdfunding. I'm sure there'll be some totally legit stuff in there. The first round of fundraising for this game on Indiegogo started in June 2016, asking for a modest $500 for forums, websites, and art. They got over $3,000 and delivered the forums, websites, and art. I'm sure some dude in Fiverr made a good $57 for doing all that. 2 months later, he did another round of fundraising, this time asking for $5K, and this was to create a milestone for fully textured models, a vision book, and they got $20K. We also started seeing promises for things that will be in the final version of this game that will totally not exist. The next one came in June of 2017, after they made a vision book and some 3D models. This is where the scam really becomes apparent. We're now the third milestone, which is set up looking for $20,000. He gets over $107,000. And he mentions if they can hit the goal of $60,000, that will fund the entire playable mock-up. The playable mock-up is the vertical slice demo that they want to use for a much larger funding project through a Kickstarter. That is going to become pretty relevant soon. He does a really great job of raising money, even in his language. Hey, this thing is now unlocked because you met this funding goal. Nothing was unlocked, he's just using gamification to try to motivate people. You know, to get them to unlock the next thing. Gamers love that stuff. And for a guy that thinks he's saving video games, he certainly likes his microtransactions. From all sorts of skins to packages ranging from $15 here to like $1,500. I signed up for his website because it told me I can get a free skin. Goal. Nothing was unlocked, he's just using gamification to try to motivate people. You know, to get them to unlock the next thing. Gamers love that stuff. And for a guy that thinks he's saving video games, he certainly likes his job of raising money, even in his language. Hey, this thing is now unlocked because you met this funding thing. Gamers love that stuff. And for a guy that thinks he's saving video games, he's $100. Packages ranging thing. Gamers love that stuff. And for a guy that thinks he's saving video games, he certainly likes his microtransactions, from all sorts of skins to packages ranging from $15 here to like $1,500.
Y'all hear that? Do y'all hear that? Remember, he's always on Twitter claiming, I'm here to save the gaming industry. We gotta de-wokeify the gaming industry. You know, we gotta get rid of these outrageous pricing packages. Look at what Ubisoft is doing. These pricing packages that Ubisoft is doing is outrageous. Yeah, this punk ass is doing it right now with his own video game. Look at these. What's that say? $50 for that? $100 for that? For these skins and packages? And this is the guy that, you know, you got, you know, Midnight Suds and Yellow Flash and all these other cats celebrating, doing 800 videos about him, you know, jerking him off to his heart's content, helping him create a YouTube channel so he can start grifting like them. But, you know, this is the guy who's going to save the gaming industry, the guy who's doing exactly what the gaming industry is, a grift. And this is your hero, right? This is a hero that Yellow Flash and Midnight's Edge and all of them want to do videos on and celebrate. Oh, my Lord, this guy right here. Mr. I worked on WoW. Okay. Remember what I said. Be careful who your heroes are. Be careful who you worship and celebrate. And who you super chat. Just remember that. Just remember that.
I signed up for his website because it told me I can get a free skin, so let's go check out this free skin here. Where is it? Right up here? Right on, let's go. Where's this free skin? Oh, here it is. It's a picture. It's not a skin. It's not anything you can use in the game. $100. I signed up for his website because it told me I can get a free skin, so let's go check out this free skin here. Where is it? Right up here? Right on, let's go. Where's this free skin? Oh, here it is. It's a picture. Oh, here it is. It's a picture. Oh, here it is. It's a picture. It's oh, here it is. It's a picture. It's not a skin. It's not anything you can use in the game. And you'll see this as a very common thing people are upset about. Mark is releasing all these skins with the intention of being, oh, you'll get these if they're in the game. There won't be a game. You're making, theoretically, a lot more work for yourself that doesn't exist and won't happen. Games like Star Citizen sell the stuff, except you can use things in the game. If you buy a spaceship, you can fly that spaceship. This is just a waifu art. He continues to sell those expensive packs, as well as what amounts to pretty much NFTs. Story of his life, bad money management, and scope creep destroying a project. Now it's going to be a 100-player multi.
Isn't this what we call a grift? A con? He's literally scheming people. And like what McDrizzle said earlier, it's different when it's investors, right? You know, they got money to burn. But it's a whole different ballgame when you're doing it to innocent people who support you under the guise that you're going to change the gaming industry. Yeah, this man is no different than any AAA gaming industry. And you have all these, woke right pop culture, content creators platforming this man and celebrating him.
Player game after originally going to be a single player game apparently. Sometime before May of 2019, Mark has a Patreon set up for the game. Well, I should correct myself. It's not for a game. It's for a vertical slice demo to do a Kickstarter to get that one last big score. Now, we do not have exact numbers for how many people are in his Patreon. However, we have seen the number 900 quoted, and that would make sense. Of course, that number's not going to be exactly 900. It's going to go up. It's going to go down. It could be lower. It could be higher. But let's use it as a baseline to crunch some numbers. At 900 Patreon subscribers, at $7.95 a subscriber, that's $85,860 a year. You times that by 5 years, that's $429,300. Gotta get paid. Those games don't not make themselves. Let's say for argument's sake, it was just half that. That's still over $200,000. Of course, that's spread over the last 5 years. But Mark did confirm that 100% of those funds are meant to go towards the development of this demo. But wasn't that what the $60,000 was for? He also started developing a tabletop game. And from 2021 to 2024,
tabletop game. Next thing he's going to come out with his own line of cologne or maybe his own comic book. He might come out with his own comic book. We might get the Grummz verse, or Flash Grummz. Who knows, guys? The sky's the limit with Grummz over here, especially with the platform and support that he has of the pop culture woke right community. The sky's the limit for Grummz now. With all his new backers that he could get as he grifts and cons off of these dumbasses, the sky's the limit. Pardon my French, but this is disgusting. But hey, the sky's the limit for Grummz now. He's got the perfect platform. Remember what I said about your heroes.
People start getting impatient. Now, Mark told his Discord supporters some health issues, wasn't on social media that much. I can't speak to the health issues, but he was definitely on social media just about as much, and still continued to release pictures of waifus and call them player skins, but you gotta use your imagination for that. November of 2023, they started to cancel the ability to buy those founders packs. Those ones that were like $500, $1,500. Some of them are cheaper, of course, because they don't feel good about selling those packs until the game's available, they say. However, they're going to enhance the Patreon program. So it's not that he feels bad about taking your money, he just wants to take your money on more of a reoccurring basis. And they try to say all these things that they delivered vastly exceed what they originally promised to deliver. Except the part of an actual vertical slice existing for a Kickstarter to develop an actual game. People see through it pretty quick. Imagine how bad at this you have to be to have all that money to develop not a game, just a vertical slice demo of a spiritual successor of a game that you and your team have already developed, and you can't get it done. But if that mock-up gets complete, that part of the process is done, and he might lose his reoccurring Patreon subscriptions. Okay, it's getting pretty clear now, and it sounds like dude's in a bit of a pickle. So where are we at with this demo vertical slice for Kickstarter that's been in the works for over 8 years? And people expecting it within some reasonable time based on the expectations that Mark has set and the hundreds of thousands of dollars he has received. So what does Grummz say about the mock-up? He says if we look at what was promised versus what was delivered, it was a playable Thumper Encounter demo to help launch a Kickstarter.
That sounds no different than any AAA studio explaining the failure of the launch day of their new game. Y'all don't smell it? I don't know about y'all, but it smells pretty funky in here.
We have that now and have for some time. Okay, so they say they have that item now. The problem with it is that it's full of placeholder graphics, placeholder AI, and not very polished or fun yet. Alright, that doesn't sound like it's done to me. It's bad. The mock-up slash vertical slice demo is nowhere close to being complete. As of a few weeks ago, he's upset about his Patreon subscribers decreasing. You know, those Patreon subscribers that are being used to fund the development of this little tiny vertical slice. That he lied and said that $60,000 of that $100,000 Indiegogo would fully fund that playable mock-up. And said it would be done in 6 to 8 months back in 2018. He's likely made at least 5 times the amount of that $60,000 that was initially the milestone for that mock-up. These type of Indiegogo campaigns should have a little bit more financial transparency that he's definitely not giving, nor is he willing to give. 8 years and at least hundreds of thousands of dollars, upwards of over $500,000 to show nothing for even a vertical slice demo is wild. And the big hype.
This man has stolen $500,000 from innocent people. How much more money has he stolen since he's been platformed on the pop culture woke right? How much more money has been stolen since he's been platformed on Yellow Flash and Midnight Sedge, all those other channels, huh? How many times? How much money has been stolen from these people because they're platforming this con man and making him the face of the savior of the gaming industry.
Is the Kickstarter. His estimate of 6 to 8 months from the end of the third Indiegogo to develop that vertical slice for the Kickstarter was off by, half a decade, maybe a decade. We'll have to see. How long do you think it would take him to develop a game or mismanage all the money? What would come first? Let's say he's successful in developing his vertical slice that he's happy with launching a Kickstarter for. If it's taken him 8 years to put this actual mock-up out, how long do you think it would take him to make a game? Or how much money? Bro would look for millions and spend all the money and just die. I don't mean that in a bad way. He's 57 years old. It's taken him over 8 years to get the demo not even done yet. That game's not getting completed in his lifetime. Let's hear what some folks have to say about this. This comment's interesting and touches on the legality of it a little bit. The backers have completely upheld their ends of the contract, funding all milestones tenfold over. There is a legitimate case that the vertical slices aren't up to standard because there's been very little progression over the last 4 years. But that's kind of tricky to argue. But if this playable vertical slice demo doesn't appear for the Kickstarter, then Mark's not upholding his end of the contract. Perhaps there could be class action lawsuits. And they bet the receipts wouldn't be flattering. I bet you they wouldn't be. I took a quick look at the terms and conditions. The first point here, make good faith efforts to fulfill the perks associated with your campaign in the time frame that you communicate to contributors and prioritize fulfillment of those perks. Mark stopped delivering the pictures that he called skins and people got upset. In fact, he just kept ignoring a 72-year-old guy who loved Firefall, has invested well over $1,000 in this and would love to see the game. By August of 2024, people's patience.
This man, Grummz, has been scamming a 72-year-old man out of thousands of dollars. And the pop culture woke right platformed this man. And they continue to platform this man and make video games about him and celebrate him. Think about that. Think about that the next time you go and super chat Yellow Flash or Midnight Sedge or Nerderotic or any of them. Think about that the next time.
Is starting to run out. 6 to 8 months from the summer of 2008.
A 72-year-old man. I want you to keep in mind that. Think about that.
Team is a far cry from summer of 2024. and $60,000 is a far cry from $500,000 or potentially more. Keep in mind, I'm going by the information that I have. Grummz could clear this up pretty easily, though. And after doing some digging, I think people have every right to call it a scam. In fact, I think it would be pretty disingenuous not to. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I hope I did demonstrate what a scam Ember is, and how the Grummzy one squandered hundreds of thousands of crowd-funded dollars for a demo that likely won't see the light of day and a game that will never see the light of day. It seems really indicative of a scam I found that 30 Indiegogo where you raised over $100,000. At that $60,000 mark, you say, hey, that's enough to fund the whole vertical slice. In fact, as we know now, he got a lot more money than that. And then 6 or 7 years later saying, hey, we need these subscribers to fund the game. You know, that game that is real and that's totally going to come out. But it's pretty clear people have been paying him to make, well, nothing. And people can do what they want with their money, I guess. However, it's clear that his walls are closing around him, and I'm curious how this is all going to pan out. With his response, we're going to see how silly it makes him look. He actually admits to some pretty wild things and then tries to explain it away, but we're going to talk about this. So Grummz actually responded, and let's take a look at
it. Before we get into the response, I want people to think about this as you continue to move forward with your decisions on who you wish to support and listen to and celebrate and platform. Neurotic, Midnight Sedge, Yellow Flash, Ryan, all those cats, they've been sucking off this man's taint for several months now, platforming him and manipulating their own communities to support him. Think about that. That should tell you how much they care about you as a community, as an individual, the money you give them, and how much they care about the culture and the content and the industry that they so willingly claim that they're going to save and make right, that they're, winning. These are the type of individuals. This is who they associate themselves with and platform. They're just as bad as him. Just as bad as him. Because I'm sure of it. Some of them are well aware of his scam and grift, but they don't care. Why? Because they're making money off of his taint. Because it tastes so sweet.
And he probably shouldn't have, because it makes him look a lot worse. He's his own worst enemy. Crazy thing is, though, he doesn't deny anything. But don't you worry, man. The truth will set you free, and we'll get down to that truth. Let's break this down. Sorry it's so long. There's just a lot of deception and BS we have to parse through. We'll break down his tweet, and we'll also listen to the podcast and break down what he says verbally a little bit. He mentions we do funding very differently, using accountable milestones. What you are seeing is the accountability process in action. Let's see what we can find about accountability milestones or accountable milestones in his Discord. It's simply someone saying they want them to exist, which they don't because they're imaginary. No up-to-date roadmaps and no accountability. Now, something like Indiegogo or Kickstarter is really great for that. You can easily see what's tracked and how much funding is going towards each milestone, and importantly, the amount of money raised is very visible. And you can draw the correlation that $20,000 is supposed to be used for this, $30,000 is supposed to be used for that, etc., etc. But that's not Mark's model. He hasn't done that since the M3 campaign in 2018. There are no milestones and no correlation between the amount of funds that go into a specific milestone. It's a mess. And by the way, I'm about to become a backer. I need to know where my money's going, right? Mark has a Discord where he communicates what he's doing with the people that are in there. What percentage of his backers actually engage in the Discord, I have no idea. But there's nothing I can see about accountability milestones, nor how the funding correlates to each milestone. So again, these all appear imaginary. Oh, and he said he talked to Mad Dog, the older gentleman on Discord. Said he never ignored him. He wants us to succeed. I'm sure he wants you to succeed. That's often what he said. Valid complaints, and he tells Grummz about them. Grummz says he's been chatting the last few days how his comments have been weaponized by people trying to get it shut down. I bet it's something that Grummz brought up and not Mad Dog, but hey, what do I know? He says he's used additional funding to create a better demo than the original Milestone scope to be competitive in a now cynical crowdfunding landscape. And it would be a cynical crowdfunding market for him, from demonstrating a pretty clear track record of mismanaging funds, from Firefall all the way to Ember. He probably knows people are concerned about him actually finishing a project. Crowdfunding for games fell apart 3 to 4 years ago, and people wanted to see more. It was either rise to that challenge or end up with a failed Kickstarter. We want our Kickstarter to be the biggest success. To do that, we had to do more. So many ways to pick this apart, but let's go with this one. As far back as June of 2017, you said that $60K would be needed to fund the entire playable mock-up. That was over 7 years ago. What does that have to do with 3 to 4 years ago? I'm guessing it's really tough to keep lies and deception straight, though. His commitment was 6 months, $60K to create this playable mock-up, and then 1 to 2 months later, have the Kickstarter ready. That's one milestone he clearly sold and did not meet. What he did deliver, and this is kind of funny, the original $20K fundraiser was for 8 separate things. Even though it raised over $100,000, he only delivered on 5 of those 8 things that he said he was going to. And by the time they were delivered, he was already 2 years deep into additional crowdfunding via the subscriber model. So to even partially deliver on those things cost hundreds of thousands of dollars more, and they came a couple years later. And those were commitments just from the first $20,000. There are a number of other things that he used that money for, including developing a tabletop game, writing the Ember novel, developing his own payment system that is totally secure and meeting all compliance requirements, I'm sure, and some out-of-scope game features. Grummz mentions a total art revamp that was very costly. Didn't see any accountability milestones for that one. And he did some other stuff. Let's break down Grummz' own words from this podcast. After they made the really non-transparent decision that they needed a lot more money to develop, not this game, just a demo for Kickstarter. By his own words, he made the choice to step away from development for 2 years while still getting paid to develop the game. Again, these are estimates based on the information that we have on hand. Grummz can clear that all up, though, by being transparent about how much he's crowdfunded for this project. Let's hear him talk about it.
Was unfortunately...
Now, do you actually think he's going to be even more transparent now with the type of platform he's been given thanks to the pop culture woke right? You think he's going to be anywhere near transparent? Do you think any of them are going to be transparent about how they've platformed this con man and scammer? You think any of them are going to be transparent?
2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago, I ran into serious health over 2 years ago.
About how much he's crowdfunded for this project. Let's hear him talk about it.
Was unfortunately 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago, I ran into serious health issues with my family, multiple family members. And I had to basically, and it was take time to attend to that. And you know what? That's on me. That's totally accountable. I had to make a choice, and that was my choice. And that's on me. And guess what? I've been held accountable. Our entire community is still there. They're still passionate about the game, but they say, Mark, you had 2 years off and progress has stopped in the game. We're not going to back your next milestone unless you come up with something.
So he had to take like 2 years away. So he really didn't do much to the game. He said he owned up to it. I don't believe he communicated anything at the time and said something after the fact, likely after people were starting to say, what's up? Estimating based on the information that we have on hand, it looks like he was paid over $250,000 over 2 years not to develop the game. The last large number I could see was in September 2021.
$250,000 to not develop a game. Is this Anthem all over again?
It was a push for 1,600 subscribers. If he kept that stable amount of subscribers at, let's say, 1,500 for that entire 2 years, it might go up, it might even be higher. Maybe it went down a bit. At a conservative number of keeping it at about 1,500 for 2 years, that is over $250,000 at $286,200 to pay Grummz not to work on a game. Of course, that's just an estimate based on the information we have on hand. Grummz can clear that up pretty easily, though, by putting a subscriber count on his website. That's transparency, right? It'd be really interesting to understand over those 2 years how much money got put into the actual game versus how much paid for Grummz' lifestyle while he did minimal work for the game. He did do some work, though. During this time with these health issues, he definitely had time to push skins and subscribers and microtransactions. 2 years off. Those are his words, not mine. Goes back to the lack of transparency for the milestones versus the funding. Let's hear him talk about his funding a bit.
First of all, we get a lot of beef for our crowdfunding, right? Mm-hmm. But I will tell you that we are actually the most accountable and the most transparent and the most honest.
That's actually laughable. It is locked down. There's no transparency where the money to fund each milestone goes. Not at least since the Indiegogo crowdfunding. No up-to-date roadmap and just a whole lot of scope creep. No openness about how many founders packs were sold. No way to see this amount of funding went to this part of the game, etc., etc. Some people that have Patreons often show the amount of users that are subscribed to each tier for a level of transparency that he is not showing. I think when he says transparent, what he means he has a Discord that some of the backers are in. And he does give updates on Discord on what he's doing, which is stuff that seems no closer to the end result of that Kickstarter promised 6 years ago, as well as hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. Ember is not even the only Firefall successor currently in development. Let's see what a comparable project Respark says about their project versus Ember. They've been doing it about half the time, with just about 0% of Mark's budget, and they're likely right along there with them. Maybe we should do the comparison video. $0 Firefall successor versus 500,000 plus Firefall successor. Let's listen to some more Mark shenanigans.
Because we do not, and nor have we ever said that we're going to do the game based on one crowdsourced funding.
No, but what you did say during the Indiegogo M3 is that $60,000 would fund the entire playable mock-up. And then just a couple months later, that Kickstarter will be coming. In reality, it's likely been 10 times that amount. And 6 years after that commitment was made. That is not his current model, though. He did 3 Indiegogos that were milestone-based, and the commitments aren't really completed on the third one, let alone any non-existing accountability milestones that he might be talking about. For the original 20K, remember, he got over 100K. He was supposed to deliver 8 things. He only delivered on 5 of those. And as we said, he raised over $100,000, and at $60,000, he clearly states that this will fund the fully playable mock-up. These are 2 very different things, and he didn't fully fulfill either of them. So for him to say that they've met the goals of that M3 milestone is laughable.
I said, let's take a page from game development. If you work with a third-party publisher, right, like Sony funds your game, you're paid in milestone basis. And it's like, if you achieve all the features of this milestone, then you get paid, right? Mm-hmm. And it's broken up month to month sometimes, or quarter by quarter, however the deal is structured.
He hasn't done that since his Indiegogo campaigns. That would have been in 2019. A whole lot less transparent now.
And then they say, well, we want to see a demo that we can do a broader funding base for, a Kickstarter, to bring in a larger sum of money, like $1 million or something.
He talks about the Kickstarter raising like $1 million or something. If north of 500,000 has been crowdfunded for the incomplete Kickstarter mock-up, what is bro actually going to need to actually complete the game? 10 million? Him saying 1 million is pretty laughable, though. Here he talks about the M3 milestone a little bit.
And I said, okay, we can do that. And we started M3, which was the third milestone tranche for the game. And this is how it breaks up. It is not one crowdfunding and we promise you a finished game. It is dividing it up into developer-based milestones. And we live or die based on that. We don't satisfy your milestone. Just like a publisher, they cut your funding, your game is canceled.
He didn't satisfy the milestone by many aspects. As he himself suggests, should his funding be cut? He did not complete even the items that he committed to. That includes even the pieces that were just part of the $20,000 of that 100K, let alone the entire playable mock-up at 60K. And that's just the M3 Indiegogo campaign. Since those have ended and everything's been through a subscription service and Discord, there's been a lot less accountability.
November, I took down all the backer packs. I said, these are all gone. We're not taking any more backer money. You can't pledge for these anymore. And we're going to focus on the next gameplay demo. And when the demo cycles are back up and running this year, so that's when we'll put the packs back up, and then we'll resume our milestone-based funding.
But as we know now, based on this Reddit post from 2023, it was just to push people towards his subscription model. You know, the only Grummz payment platform we talked about earlier. We'll talk about him more in the next video. He even says that the focus is going to be on gameplay and the monthly patrons, and they're going to continue to enhance the patron program. He just wants to get your reoccurring support as opposed to a one-time payment. Well, I think it's pretty clear that Mark didn't have any response to those allegations. At least anything that disproved a thing that I said. I even asked a bunch of creators that are huge supporters of Mark what they thought, and it was crickets. Someone who's done interviews with Mark before, Blabs from the Side Scrollers podcast, actually did ask him about this because, well, it is pretty damning sounding, and this is what prompted his response, so good on them. But my next steps are I'm going to take the hit and become a backer and ask him these questions. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I think it continued to demonstrate how full of BS he is. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you soon.
Now, this video went up August 31st, 2024. I have another piece of evidence I'm going to play for you guys. Okay. Here we go. Now, this is September 11th, and it reads up here, a clip from a recent conversation that Grummz had with a backer. It didn't feel like winning. Now, lately, I've been seeing him on Twitter talking about we're winning. Didn't know what that was all about, but now I know. So let's take a listen. Oh, and this is right here what you're seeing, and here is one of his characters in his game demo that he's making.
And I guess, my main issue is, because I think it was either today or yesterday, you were talking about how you posted the video of one of the models.
Yes.
And I guess, it kind of just, when I saw it, it hit me the wrong way. Like, when I saw the ping, I was like, oh, is there like an update for the game? When, there wasn't, it was just kind of you saying, oh, I posted something that was already shown before to sort of, to show it to the people on Twitter, which is like, did we really need a ping for that? About your personal Twitter?
Maybe winning's the wrong word, but we will win. Maybe future tense.
And I guess, my main issue is, because I think it was either today or yesterday, you were talking about how.
So he's going to win future tense. This is the individual that the pop culture woke right are platforming. This is who they're giving their audience to. How many of people in their audience on their platforms have gone over and been scammed by this man? We've seen them. I've seen them on Yellow Flash and all of the pop culture woke right channels. Because he's all complaining about black people in games and girls not being hot enough and all the monetization and pay packages, no different than his punk ass. And they are platforming him, giving him all the audience in the world. And what does that do for the fandom communities of the games, of movies. I mean, what does that do? Because, here we are with this situation, with this guy using their platforms, conning them, grifting off of their platforms. But like I said, I would not be surprised if it turned out that they knew a little bit about this and just didn't care. Because they seem to love to platform one another and, use one another's grift and exploitation to their own benefit. And we've covered this in my, woke right, versus woke left video. But, this is something that people need to think about. How long do you want to continue to give people like that, your money? He's literally right now, he's literally exploiting and grifting a 70-year-old man. Think about that. A 70-year-old man, he's grifting off right now. And you got these channels out here platforming him and giving him all the time in the world to talk his nonsense. And they're perfectly okay with it. They clearly are. Because if they weren't, they wouldn't be doing this. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting what they're doing. And how they're so willing to do it. And this is what I'm saying. Like, you guys out there, like, if you want to support them and platform them, go ahead. But like I said, when this situation with Grummz blows up to the point where Asmongold or Young Ye or any of the bigger, gaming streamers out there cover it, I guarantee you, none of the pop culture woke right channels are going to acknowledge the fact that they got conned and that they scammed their own audience into this con man's platform. None of them are going to own up to it. Or they're going to talk out their ass and it's going to smell like shit. Be careful who your heroes are. Be careful who you support and platform. Because I'm telling you right now, when this situation gets too high for him and he's facing the law, we'll see what Midnight says, FNT, Yellow Flash, all of them. We'll see how they're going to play this out. But like I said, by them platforming this con man, it exposes them for nothing more than being a con man just the same. Because they're well aware of this stuff. I've seen people in the comment sections on Twitter. They know, but they don't care. Because they don't care about their own audience. Because they have no problem manipulating, exploiting, and gaslighting and triggering their own audience. And you know what's funny about this whole situation? It's very similar to what's going on with the Star Wars Explained. And how they posted a letter on their Twitter account that they didn't share, they didn't create, and then the pop culture woke right got triggered, no different than the woke left, and decided to attack them, and have been on this little crusade ever since. Now we'll see if they hold themselves accountable for getting exposed, for getting grifted by this con man, and showing just how much of the grifters they are, and how much they don't care about their audience, or the culture, or the gaming industry. So I implore you out there, do some reflection the next time you want to support these channels. Because they're not authentic individuals. They're not genuine. They don't have your best interests in hand. And platforming this individual showcases that eloquently. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Lounge Ronin. All things, everything. If you're new to the channel, please make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. And until next time, stay positive, stay focused, stay true, and much love. Hello there, I'm Ronin Beatmaker, and welcome to Ronin Art and Music, home to Ronin music, Lounge Ronin, all things, everything, the Monday Mindset, Rants, and Ronin Reviews. We strive to make holistic and authentic content that aims to improve your individuality, mental fortitude, and peace of mind. If you're new to the channel, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Stay positive, stay focused, stay true, and much love. Now, back to the show.